Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast on this 1st of January 2019. I'm your host, Ril Dil Quinn, discussing the world of sports and pop culture. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at William Gerald or go to my YouTube page, Real Deal Podcast. Our viewership is going up, our subscribers are going up. Thanks to you, as always, for your support of the podcast. We can also be you can also find me at Rillo Gerald Quinn. About on this 21st of January, Martin Luther King Day, even though his birthday was last week. Just want to acknowledge the great Dr. King, who we can learn a lot from, to say the least, as far as sacrifice and just finding something that you have a passion for in life, and doing your best to either either go after it or to also help and educate others. Unfortunately for me, did not get to go out to any events for Martin Luther King Day, and I hope you didn't take certainly hope that you out there in my audience didn't take heed from me in terms of that. I hope you were able to either I don't care if you were just be able to watch a movie on TV One or BET something to honor him, or reading something that in the past, just do something to pay some tribute again, the late and great Dr. Martin Luther King. We begin in the world of sports with, of course, the conference championships. The Super Bowl 53 is set. New England making their record 11th appearance against the Los Angeles Rams, making as a franchise their fourth appearance in the fourth Super Bowl appearance. And listen, I will get to both games. You had, of course, overtime games. Both games were absolutely just phenomenal to watch. If you're a viewer, a fan of, now, only the NFL could find a way to screw up two overtime games with something on the field in regards to the officiating. Only the NFL could find a way to do that, and that was certainly the case with what transpired down in New Orleans. Now, I've I've heard this since the call took place. New Orleans, the Saints got robbed, tainted Super Bowl. The wrong team is playing in regards to the Rams. I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like it wasn't one of the worst calls I've ever seen in a big spot in any major sport. Like, I had to really think today about what are some of the worst calls that I've seen in a championship setting. Super Bowl, NBA Finals, Final Four, um, Stanley Cup. I had to really think hard, and it really mine in regards to, I can think of the Ted Higgins call, Michigan Seton Hall back in '89. You had Game Six with the Lakers, Sacramento, a bunch of calls when the Lakers were down 3 games to 2. The in the crease call with Buffalo and Dallas, with Brett Hall scored the goal in the crease against Dominic Hasek that led to Dallas's championship back in the '89 Stanley Cup. So those are some of the things, some of the calls that came to mind when I really thought about it. But even this was worse. This was worse. This was more egregious than any of those calls, considering modern technology, considering the fact that that we have a million cameras, and considering the magnitude of the game. But before I even get to that, the Saints the Saints frankly did not deserve to win this game. Opportunity to win this game inspired that call. That call should not have been the reason why the Saints won or lost this game. The Saints were up in their building, one of the toughest places to play in the league. They had been undefeated in the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era in the playoffs in that building. The Rams were like a deer in headlights the first quarter. McVay, Goff couldn't even get plays in. Okay, offensively, they couldn't even get plays in. Even you would have thought that the Rams that had you would have thought that the Rams had never played in the dome before, or you would have thought that the Rams that hadn't played the Saints earlier this season in a matchup in the Superdome. Excuse me, in the Mercedes Dome, as it's called now. So the Rams were asking to be. The Rams were saying, "Please destroy us." And you've watched enough of these games over the course of NFL history to know that these games, these championship games, can get away in a hurry. We saw it. We saw it in Minnesota, Philadelphia last year. We saw it Arizona in recent memory. We saw it Arizona and Carolina. These games can get away in a hurry in one quarter. I mean, you can lose a team. Especially if you're the road team, you're just trying to in certain cases you're just trying to keep your head above water. Just kind of stay within a possession. Just because again, it turns to avalanche. It turns into an avalanche to where 10-0 becomes 17-0. Next thing you know, you're down 21-3, 21-7, and what have you. So the Saints blew had numerous opportunities to put the Rams. They were terrible down in the red zone. Give the Rams defense credit for holding them for those first two field goals to be only down 6-0 instead of 14-0 or 10-0. And then you had a situation where at 13-0, the Rams are about to punt the ball, and they do the fake field goal, which again, you've seen the Rams with all year long. The Rams have done that numerous times with Tom with Hiker, with the special teams coach. That is something if you're the Saints, that you should have been ready for. We're desperate. The Rams were desperate. They could not back on the field once again. So again, the Saints had numerous occasions, opportunities to win this game, and they had the ball in overtime. They, no one. They still, despite the horrific call, still had an opportunity at 23-20 to stop the Rams from going down the field and kicking the game time. So to me, listen, I can't say that the better team did not win. I mean, the better team did not. The Saints are not a better team than the Rams. I think that was basically an evenly matched up. I think the Rams, pound for pound, have better personnel than the Saints. I think the Rams would have made for a much better matchup, either against Kansas City or against. This idea that the wrong team is in the Super Bowl, I just don't. I'm just not going to buy it. The Saints did not this win. I think you have to give the Rams defense. You have to give Goff a lot of credit. Goff in the first half, first quarter in particular, Goff in the second half, in particular the fourth quarter and overtime, was spectacular. He made the throw that, in essence, saved them. Kept change when he's basically about to get tackled and was able to get rid of the ball. A sack there would have been, would have been a disaster for them. Defense for the Ram defense can be held. The Saints had 290 yards of total. I think that too much is being made about this call versus what the Saints did not do and what the Rams did do in order to win this game. Now, again, this was a historically egregious call in terms of this will change this will change the way NFL games are officiated moving forward without question. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it as far as whether or not you're going to see a system next year where, well, more than likely, judgment calls, whereas pass interference calls will be allowed to be challenged. Again, for me, I would like to see it where you can challenge any call if you have a challenge, if you have timeouts remaining in the last 2 minutes. I think that would be the fairest way to do it, and in the best interest of the game, because no one to challenge a pass interference or a holding call in the first quarter. To me, I mean, these games are already long enough. I agree with Bill Belichick. with Belichick, who said this years ago, as far as, hey, this you should be able to challenge any call inside the last 2 minutes. If you have timeouts, if you have challenges, it puts more of an emphasis on not wasting timeouts. Because if you don't have it, then you cannot challenge. Then you shouldn't be. Then you will not be allowed to challenge those calls. So I have no problem. I have no problem with that. But again, the Saints had every opportunity to win this game. Home field advantage, up 13-0. You get the ball first. You win the toss in overtime to get the ball. Todd Gurley was a non-factor. Okay, non-factor in this game. He had the one touchdown, which was a nice run, a tough, I think 5 or 6 yard run. Outside of that, he was a absolute non-factor in this game. So again, I don't want to hear about again. The Rams were the better team. The Rams outplayed the Saints. The Rams deserve to be playing in the Super Bowl, not the Saints. And the Saints again, when when Ginn catches that pass inside 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, on the Saints' last possession in regulation, they had opportunity to milk the clock down to where the Rams would have had zero timeouts, and Saints at worst case, the Saints are up three. The Rams have no timeouts, and they have about anywhere from 40 to 50 seconds remaining to where they have to go down and try to kick and try to engineer a drive for a game time field goal, which is possible. It's definitely in today's NFL, big plays, what have you, but with no timeouts makes it obviously more difficult to do when you have no timeouts, trying to use the middle of the field, or if somehow you take a sack, you get quarterback gets sacked. So again, the Saints, I don't feel too bad for this. I don't feel as I, the league is embarrassed by this, but I don't feel that bad for the Saints because I don't feel like the Saints deserve to win the game. They didn't deserve it. The team that won the game deserved to win the game. The Rams were a better football team than the Saints, and I don't know. Again, maybe I'm the only one that saw that. I don't know. I just saw the Rams frankly outplay the New Orleans Saints after the first quarter. And again, it is a bitter pill to swallow if you're a Saints fan. I understand it. Um, if you've rooted for long enough, hard enough, long enough for a sports team, we've all gone through a painful loss. What could have been, should have been, but wasn't. Uh, you know, Bills fans know it. Fans of the Minnesota Vikings know it. So fans of many franchises across in all walks of sports, in all the four major sports, understand what it's like to deal with a loss where you almost had it, where you won it, should have won it, but came up short. I will say for this, I will say this about the Saints. Um, Again, this is not being talked about enough. Sean Payton continuously taking Drew Brees out of the quarterback and putting Taysom Hill and trying to run these gimmick plays. Again, I don't. There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for that. And I think a key in this game to me, and I've been saying it all year long, in regards to he would be the difference where the Rams would be a good team versus a Super Bowl caliber team, was a key to the lead. Michael Thomas was not a factor in this game at all. The Saints' best receiver in this game was Alvin Kamara, and I definitely think the Ben Watson injury, the lack of tight ends, hurt the Saints in this game because we all know Drew Brees loves to use his tight ends. The Ben Watson injury was a big injury, and then the backup gets hurt, gets gets concussed, and they're down to their third string tight end. Those two injuries hurt the Saints without question because the Saints do not have a lot of talent on the outside of Michael Thomas. That's why you had Alvin Kamara with 11 catches for 96 yards. So the Rams go to the Super Bowl. You'll have the young guns, McVay, Goff, Gurley, and who knows how healthy again. And getting to the Todd Gurley situation, I give Todd Gurley a lot of credit for being like from a standpoint of not complaining. Not complaining. He said all the right things. McVay didn't throw him under the bus in terms of discussing an injury. We know Todd Gurley is not 100% right now. There's no two ways about it. The guy's one of the best players in the league. You're not going. I know C.J. Anderson had been playing well, but there's no way in the world that in a championship game against the Saints that you sit Todd Gurley. That Todd Gurley only plays what 35 plays, and that Todd Gurley, doesn't get the bulk of the carries in that game. I want to floor the offense again. I understand why McVay had to say what he had to say, and Todd Gurley took the point and didn't make an excuse about an injury. Again, could have said there were a number of things that Todd Gurley could have said wrong, but he chose. But again, and that's why one. That's why the Rams are part of the reasons why the Rams are headed to the Super Bowl because they do have some character guys, and minus Marcus Peters, but they do have some guys have some character guys on that team, as in comparisons to years past. But Todd Gurley's hurt. There's no two ways about it. Now, he'll have the good thing about the Super Bowl is you have 2 weeks off. 2 weeks at this time of year is an eternity for getting these guys fresh, in terms of physically fresh. I mean, these guys have played in essence 20 games. If you let's say that most of them don't play in the first or last season, so let's say two preseason games, 16 regular season games, and now two playoff games. So again, wear and tear is at the forefront at this time of year in the NFL, and guys on both sides, whether it's New England or the Rams, certainly welcome a 2 week break. It certainly be more important for the Rams to get this 2 week break in terms of the health of Todd Gurley. As far as the other game, as far as the AFC Championship goes, it was everything that I thought it would be. I didn't think New England would jump out 14-0. I didn't think New England would outgain Kansas City 524 to 290 or dominate the time of possession 43-20. But we knew that New England had an advantage as far as running the football, and that Kansas City was one of the worst teams in the NFL as far as stopping the run. So you knew New England was going to run the ball. I thought that sometimes you get beat. And we know Kansas City all year long has been a terrible defensive team. And again, you gotta give Belichick all the credit in the world. The run, not only so you run the football, obviously, one to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Check, you accomplish that. The other reason why you run the football is to take the legs out of those pass rushers. Notice in the fourth quarter and the first possession of overtime, Kansas City's pass rushers had nothing in the tank. Nothing. They didn't. Brady barely got touched the entire game. He wasn't sacked at all. Um, that running the football just took the legs completely took the legs out of the Kansas City pass rushers. So I gotta give Belichick a ton of credit from that standpoint. Sonny Michelle, Burkhardt, those guys had big days. With that being said, it took everything. It took all of that and then some to take out what is going to be a team that is going to be scary moving forward. And if you're going to beat Kansas City, you better beat them this year because they have a guy on under center who is going to own this league sooner than later in Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes in the second half was just spectacular. I thought Mahomes' performance, again, the numbers won't show it as far as completion percentage, but in a game of that magnitude where this is only your second playoff game, AFC Championship against a mastermind Bill Belichick. This is 2 games in a row that he has dominated Belichick's defense in the second half. Normally it's reversed. Normally Belichick makes the adjustments and guys struggle. And you gotta give Andy Reid credit from that standpoint of whatever adjustments that were being made, they worked because Kansas City's offensively was unstoppable in the second half. And if not for D Ford lining up off sides, Kansas City wins that game, and they're going to the Super Bowl. Again, it was a wild game, 38 fourth quarter points. New England and Tom, listen, if you want to call Tom Brady to go, I have no problem with it. I won't call him to go because again, Montana is Montana, 4 Super Bowls, no interceptions in those Super Bowls. Still, it's still perfection. But Brady was as money could be in that fourth quarter and into that overtime. Again, he got bailed out by the call, by the offsides call, because then the game would have been over. It had been one touchdown and 3 interceptions, and there would have been no heroics about or overtime. So he got bailed. Let's be honest about that. But they took advantage of it. Made every throw that he had to make in that fourth quarter, minus that interception, which was a bad throw. Eric Berry is done. He's finished as a big time safety in this league. He couldn't again Rob Gronkowski can't even run anymore, and he was able to beat Eric Berry on that play, that 25 yard play that set up the touchdown to put the Patriots ahead 31 to 28. But again, the Patriots do what the Patriots do. They wait for you to make a critical mistake. You make that mistake, they're going to take advantage of it. That's all there is to it. Again, I don't blame Andy Reid at all in this game. People say, well, he could have made adjustments defensively. There's nothing defensively that they could do with New England from the standpoint of they just don't have the personnel. They don't have the corners. They don't have. They are so hard. They're so bad in the back end. If that pass rush isn't getting home, then it's a wrap. Defensively, they are. Kansas City is horrible defensively, and we knew this. Listen, we knew this all year long, and I told you. And this is no coincidence, right? So, early in the middle of the season, I told you in regards to Kansas City and Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Rams, what were going to be the keys for them moving forward. And I told you it was going to be two secondary people. It would be Talib and Eric Berry. That those guys would determine the course of those teams' respective seasons. Talib comes back. Michael Thomas is shut down. And the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. Eric Berry comes back. Rob Gronkowski gets off, and the Chiefs are not going to the Super Bowl. Those two guys were critical to their team's success in regards to how they were going to go. One produced at a high level and returned close to being his All-Pro self. The other looks like he's a shot football player in Eric Berry. And again, Eric Berry, you love what Eric Berry has done in terms of off the field and recovering from what he's gone through, what he's had to go through physically. I mean, it's a great story, but he looks done. He looked done last. But again, you have to give. And again, I know I know it's painful. You have to give the Patriots credit. You got to give Belichick credit. This year, I thought they were vulnerable. This year, I thought they were. I just didn't think they were the same team. I didn't think they were going. I did not believe that they were going to get to the Super Bowl this year. Thought the Chargers could take them out. I thought Kansas City could and would take them out. I thought there were other teams in the AFC that could possibly take them out. Those two teams in particular. But I did not think the Chargers. I did not think the Patriots were going back to the Super Bowl this year. Super Bowl line. The line is out. I've seen lines anywhere from 1.5 to 2. The Rams, the first line that came out, the very first line came out, the Rams were a 1 point underdog, 1 point favorite. That changed quickly to where I've seen a couple places where the New England's it was a 2 point favorite. Another place, New England is a 1.5 favorite. So basically, it's a pick'em game. Basically, it's a pick'em game. Again, if you know the history of New England Super Bowls, we know all the Super Bowls have been decided by basically 3 points and less. The only Super Bowl that was decided by more than that was an overtime win against Atlanta. That was decided of course, it was decided by 6 points. So we expect the game to be close. Again, the question you'll hear a lot of talk about video gate. The Rams, a lot of nostalgic with the Rams. Patriots first Super Bowl back in 2001. That was, of course, the first Super Bowl that Belichick and Brady won. And again, Rams people from even to this day believe that they were cheated in that game as far as with the Patriots. That's when the Patriots cheating scandals first started. That was the first of the Patriots being called cheaters and being criticized for what they were doing in regards to video and things of that nature. They, of course, they taped practice in the Super Bowl, and we know it felt like they knew all the Rams plays in that Super Bowl. To be honest with you, because that they put on a clinic defensively against that high-powered offense with Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Faulk. The greatest show on turf. So you're gonna hear a lot of that. You're gonna hear a lot of generational stuff with Belichick, Brady versus the up and coming young guns of the NFL and McVay and Goff. You're gonna hear. You're still gonna be. They're still gonna be talking about the Saints stuff, the officiating in regards to the Saints and what's gonna be done. You're gonna get a little. You're gonna get most of that this week. This week you'll get most of that. In week two, I think that will calm down once the teams arrive to Atlanta and once the game moves closer. But this week you're gonna hear a lot of stuff about the Saints and what could have been and what have you leading into as this. Of course, this is an off week, Pro Bowl week for the NFL. So the NFL, listen, there's no running away from this if for the NFL. They cannot run away from this call. It was embarrassing to the league. The officials officiating in the NFL has been bad for the better part of the last 4 to 5 years. It just didn't start this year. It's been bad. I would say going back to that fail Mary with Seattle and Green Bay. It's been bad since then. It's ever since when they were using the replacement officials and when they were going through when the officials were fighting for compensation, were basically locked out when they were locked out. It's been bad since that. They haven't recovered from that, to be honest with you. So I don't know what again. To me, the NFL, I always have felt like the NFL should get full time officials. They can afford it. The NFL can print their own money. So don't tell me this is about finances. The NFL can't afford to get full time officials. A lot of people think they need to get younger with the officiating. But the bottom line is that call or lack thereof will change the way games are officiating with pass interference and with calls moving forward. It will absolutely change with the commission, the committee, the competition committee. Sean Payton is on the competition committee, so that no doubt change. I think you'll see something next year where you can be able to review pass interference maybe in the last 2 minutes. I don't want to see a situation where you have where you can review any call over the course at any part of the game. I don't want to see that. These games are already long enough. A couple of other news and notes going on and around the world of sports. You had Carson Wentz and the Eagles basically defending. Had a number of Eagles defending Carson Wentz against reports that Wentz has been difficult in the locker room. That he's been selfish. That you had guys like Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, and Zach Ertz go on Twitter and defend Carson Wentz against those reports. Who knows what's true and what's not. Those reports came from some unnamed players who were basically off the record and made some off the record comments about Wentz's attitude within that locker room. I'm not big on unnamed sources or unnamed players or players not putting their names on anything, but there has to be something that's there for those reports to come out. Um, Again, moving forward, you don't know what the Eagles are going to do. You figure that the Eagles will pick up that option for Foles and then trade him, and then go and move forward with Carson Wentz as their guy of the present and the future. In regards to the NBA, a full slate of games on Martin Luther King Day. You had Houston completely getting rid of Carmelo Anthony, trading him along with some cash to the Bulls. The Bulls will waive Carmelo Anthony. I don't see. There have been some small talk about Carmelo Anthony with the Lakers. I don't see that happening. If LeBron didn't want Carmelo Anthony on Cleveland last year, why would he want him on the Lakers this year? So I don't think Carmelo Anthony will play for the rest of the season. Again, Carmelo Anthony, if he wants to be a factor ever again in the NBA, he has to humble himself and be a guy who's willing to come off the bench and be an instant offense guy at this point. He's not a defender. He's not a guy who's going to rebound, be scrappy, and he's not going to be like a Patrick Beverly, that type of player. Getting down and dirty. It's not. That's not who he is. It's not who he will ever be. He is going to have to be a off the bench, instant offense type guy. So I don't know if he's willing to be that. I think that honestly he will retire before he even concedes to being somebody that comes off the bench and is just a instant offense type player. I can't see him. I think he'll retire before he does that. With the college basketball this weekend, Duke, Virginia, big game. Yeah, Virginia, Duke fall into Virginia to fall into Duke in Cameron. Good win for Duke without Tyus Jones. And again, way too much was being made about the Tyus Jones injury. Tyus Jones, you still have 3 lottery picks on that team, including by far and away the best player in college basketball in Zion Williamson. I mean, he's not even close. He's by far and away the best player in college basketball. With that being said, Virginia was right there. The ACC race is going to be interesting because you have a number of teams who are at 4-1. North Carolina took out Virginia Tech tonight, so they're going to be at 5-1. And so the ACC is loaded. Even teams like Syracuse and Louisville, teams that we thought weren't supposed to be that good, are now emerging as top 25 teams. So that the race in the ACC should be great, should be tremendous. Tennessee is the number 1 team in the country right now. First time at least has to be the first time in at least a decade, maybe even longer, that they've been number 1 in the country. So you had that going on. As far as the NBA goes on NBA tonight. Great Saturday of NBA games with Oklahoma City Sixers. That was a wild game. Paul George with the 4-point play. Embiid and Russell Westbrook getting into it a little bit. But a great game that was. And of course, LA Houston, a game that the Lakers absolutely should be kicking themselves for not winning a game that they should. But again, you had James Harden again doing what he's been doing for the Pep. The Lakers losing Lonzo Ball now for 4 to 6 weeks, 6 weeks with the ankle injury. That injury changed the course of that game without question. Lakers were killing Houston before he got hurt, and after he got hurt, it turned into a dogfight, into a overtime loss for the Lakers. Who knows when LeBron's going to come back? There are talks now. He did practice along with Rajon Rondo on Sunday. Know he's going to be out tonight, not playing against Golden State this week. Of course, again, last week the Lakers put out a press release that he was close and that he would miss 2 more games before he returned. And then you had Rich Paul basically refute that idea that on the Lakers timeline, that he's on his own timeline and he'll come back when he's ready. And Rich Paul went into this basically profanity laden mini tirade, which to me, it was unnecessary. We know LeBron's going to come back when he's ready. That no team is going to pressure him to come and play coming off an injury. So we didn't need Rich Paul to let us know, to tell us that it was something that we already knew, that LeBron is going to come back when he's ready to come back, and when he's ready, when he's out, when he's close to near 100%. So you had that going on in regards to the NBA. Milwaukee keeps rolling. Greek Freak, again, to me without question the MVP. Milwaukee has the best record in the league. He continues to put up basically 26, 13, and 5, and which is just ridiculous, to be honest with you. When you really think about it, Harden will get serious consideration, but there's no question that the Greek Freak is the MVP of the league right now. Of course, Super Bowl 53 is set. The Los Angeles Rams, New England Patriots, who are again making their 11th Super Bowl appearance, looking to tie Pittsburgh for most Super Bowls all time at 6. Rams are looking for their second Super Bowl ever. Should be a fascinating matchup with Belichick versus McVay. But the story right now on this Monday is not those two teams going to the Super Bowl, it is in many eyes, many the eyes of many people, the team that is not going to the Super Bowl, and that's of course the New Orleans Saints, and what transpired at down in New Orleans with the no call on the pass interference with Tommy Lee Lewis being hit and by and it was a clear, blatant pass interference. It was not only pass interference, it was helmet to helmet and face guard, which they don't call anymore. By the way, they don't. The NFL does not call that the face guard anymore. But without question, it was pass interference and helmet to helmet, and it wasn't that was not called. Peyton was besides himself over the course of the game and throughout the course of the press conference. Now, again, I thought Peyton did a bad job in where his head was at during the game. Now, it's one thing to complain and bitch and moan when the game is over. But in during the game, he was still talking to the official when the Rams got the ball back. So to me, at some point, you have to send a message to your team. Even I don't care if you feel this way or not, but you have to send a message to your team. Next play, we still got a game that we can win. We still got a game that we're going to win. He was still complaining about that call forever, well into that game. I really think that affected the Saints not only not only throughout the course of the rest of the regulation, but even into overtime. It's one thing for players. Players, it's always on the great teams. You always hear about next play, especially in the NFL. Next play, you gotta move on. And I think Peyton did a horrible job at having his team mentally move on from that missed call. So he did a terrible job from that standpoint. And to me, there's no question that it affected the Saints for the rest of that game. There's no two ways about it. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast with your host, Cyril Gerald